Welcome back to my channel today, Paul, an aging hippie. Today, I'd like to go back to 2015. So we're catching up to modern times. I'm going to play you a song from 2015, which caught my attention. But before I do that, I'd just like to remind you, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. And if you can, comment in the comment section and share with your friends. Now, before we get on to the song, I want to tell you something that really was important in 2015. I was actually addicted to high dose morphine. I'd switched from an even more dangerous prescribed drug that was prescribed to help me with my pain from my lung cancer. Now, to just give you a simple understanding, let me go back 3 or 4 years. 2011, one morning, Olive, my wife, you all know my wife, she was at the hospital with her brother. He was only a young man. I say young man, 53 I think he was. And she was with him in the morning at the hospital being told that he got terminal lung cancer. So you can imagine for Olive and for Clive, her brother, it was quite a traumatic experience. In a somewhat bizarre turn of events, 2:30 in the afternoon of the very same day, Olive was back in that room with the same doctors, but this time with me. And yet again, we had the same diagnosis. I had been diagnosed with lung cancer. The difference being mine had been caught early, and there was a chance of survival, but I would need to go through an operation, lose half my lungs in the process. But they did say there was a 60% chance of me still being here in 5 years. Well, here I am 10 years later, and I'm still here. In fact, 15 years later, 14 years later. So that is the background to this morphine addiction. Anyway, it had stopped me from driving. And at that particular point in time, I'd finished with my lecturing. I took myself to driving school and got myself my HGV license. But as soon as I got the lung cancer, as soon as I went on the morphine-based or the opiate-based medication, I had my license taken away from me. And I wanted it back. But I was addicted to morphine. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor says, okay, it's going to be a hard process, a long, hard process, but we can do it. We will reduce your dosage by minuscule amounts each month, and it's probably going to take around about 12 months before you're completely clear of the morphine. So I agreed to that, and the first reduced dose, I found myself climbing the walls. I was in horrible sweats, I was shaking. It was an awful feeling. So I said to Olive, I said, I can't go through this for 12 months. I'm just going to stop them now. So I did. That was the last dose of morphine that I took. And I had 3 months of hell, going cold turkey. But at the end of the 3 months, I was able to reapply for my license and get it back. I wouldn't recommend that method to anybody else because the doctors did say to me, what you did was very, very dangerous. motto. It's a choice you take, and in my case, it worked. Right. So, the song we're going to be listening to today is, I'd say, quite a modern song. I love story song. American Pie, lovely story song. And this one, in my mind, is another good story song. Plus, it's got elements of hip hop and rap in it. And I must admit, I love some hip hop and I love some rap. So it's a song by a Danish group called Lukas Graham. From their second album, released in 2015, as a single, 7 Years. And it topped the singles charts in many major music markets. 7 Years as a soul pop song with hip hop influences and with a light rap throughout it. So, here we go. Lukas Graham, 7 Years. Let me know what you think about it.
Once I was 7 years old, my mama told me, go make yourself some friends or you'll be lonely. Once I was 7 years old. It was a big, big world, but we thought we were bigger. Pushing each other to the limits, we were learning quicker. By 11, smoking herb and drinking burning liquor. Never rich, so we were out to make that steady figure. Once I was 11 years old, my daddy told me, go get yourself a wife or you'll be lonely. Once I was 11 years old. Always had that dream like my daddy before me. So I started writing songs, I started writing stories. Something about that glory just always seemed to bore me. Cause only those I really love will ever really know me. Once I was 20 years old, my story got told. Before the morning sun when life was lonely. Once I was 20 years old. Only see my goals, I don't believe in failure. Cause I know the smallest voices, they can make it major. I got my boys with me, at least those in favor. And if we don't meet before I leave, I hope I'll see you later. Once I was 20 years old, my story got told. I was writing about everything I saw before me. Once I was 20 years old. Soon we'll be 30 years old. Our songs have been sold. We've traveled around the world and we're still roaming. Soon we'll be 30 years old. I'm still learning about life. My woman brought children for me, so I can sing them all my songs and I can tell them stories. Most of my boys are with me, some are still out seeking glory, and some I had to leave behind. My brother, I'm still sorry. Soon I'll be 60 years old. My daddy got 61. Remember life and then your life becomes a better one. I made a man so happy when I wrote a letter once. I hope my children come and visit once or twice a month. Soon I'll be 60 years old. Will I think the world is cold, or will I have a lot of children who can bore me? Soon I'll be 60 years old. Soon I'll be 60 years old. Will I think the world is cold, or will I have a lot of children who can bore me? Soon I'll be 60 years old. Once I was 7 years old, my mama told me, go Make yourself some friends or you'll be lonely. Once I was 7 years old. Once I was 7 years old.
There you go. What do you think of that? Not really the kind of song I would normally go for, but I just think it's terrific. Okay, back to 2015. Terror came to Paris when two radicalized brothers attacked the satirical French magazine Charlie Hebdo. I think there was some lead up to this. I think the satirical magazine had made fun of the Islamic faith, and in particular their prophet Muhammad. Customers in a kosher deli were also targeted by a third terrorist. Over 3 days, 17 people were killed, while all 3 gunmen were eventually killed by armed police in raids. In November, France suffered another atrocity when 130 people lost their lives in coordinated terror attacks by Islamic militants across Paris. In America, July saw Communist Cuba and the United States finally restore diplomatic relations. And in August, US Secretary of State John Kerry visited Havana to officially reopen the US embassy there. Okay, so that was 2015. Beautiful song. Some history. Some of my history. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I say, if you did, please subscribe. Please share with your friends. Okay. Well, there's an Asian hippie saying, I love you all. I think I'm back to form again. See you very soon. You take care now. Bye-bye.